So hello, good morning. So this is another attempt to capture another facet of Nirbeeja Yoga. The idea is, so the time is around 7:45, going to be 8 a.m. And in probably in light of the different not so nice things happening in Afghanistan and all these places, I don't know if that's one of the reasons, but I'm noticing more fire manifestations in my composition, and I thought it would be helpful to kind of try and attempt to capture the practice of maintaining the fire element in my body. And Nirbeeja Yoga is a single multifaceted practice that moves through stages of development, stages of advancement, as a practitioner moves through stages of awareness of different kinds of violence, and thereby coming to what is non-violence. Through the recognition and discernment, come to non-violence, and then from being able to be non-violent, while a person is moving through the movements of being able to be more in non-violence, there is stages of development in the person, physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, conscience. So it's a single multifaceted practice. So this video is again an attempt to try and capture some facets of it, because this method of yoga requires no muscle movement. As I'm sitting, I don't even need a yoga mat. I'm just squatting on the floor in the balcony here, and hardly any streak of sweat except from the normal. And I'm calling this yoga because of the different facets that's involved in it, and it is non-violence. So there is several levels of de-traumatization, decontamination, detoxification, which we all call as, which all of that call as Shuddhikaran. And then the practice is from the experience of being one person as I am in Advaita, and with Ishvara Pranidhana as the reason for being in existence. So that's a given that, and starts from Sthira Sukhasana. So it's basically in the Samasthiti, but from a state of Sthira Sukhasana that comes from the word that comes to mind is precept of Advaita. So having said that, this video is an attempt to capture another aspect of maintaining the eye, because in an upright posture, while there is what has been called as gravitational movement up and down the body, the forces of gravitation and its effects, at least vertically, that we can perceive, and then there is the left and right movements by which we maintain a balance, and the front and back movement by which we also maintain a balance, and then there's the in versus out directions by which we perceive stability in some ways. So when we're talking in terms of maintaining, so there is an appreciation of different parts of the body, different aspects of the body by which we maintain how is our orientation to time and space, from the structure, from the tension, from the ease, from the grace that is possible at a point in time, depending on the circumstance, depending on the environment, depending on what is the internal and external experience at a point in time, that a person is able to maintain well-being. And then it is about how much of violence versus non-violence is able to, what is the orientation to, what we call as manodharma, but you can call it as how much are we likely to become better, and there is some orientation towards becoming better versus an orientation towards getting not better, towards evolution or devolution, depending on the number of wounds there is, which may or may not have healed as well as it needs to be. Accordingly is the movement, evolution or devolution. Yeah. So which is why the more a person takes time to heal their own wounds, they will be healing all those who came before them, and also all those who came after them, all those who come after them. So Nirbeeja Yoga helps in being able to heal those wounds. There are also other methods of healthcare, life care. Nirbeeja Yoga is what works for me. Always seems to work for me, like all the time, and so much so that I'm speaking about it and I'm required to speak about it. Also by my ancestral lines, that I need to also be doing this. Okay, so having said that, what am I doing to maintain my eye in this video? Okay, why maintain the eye is because when there is movement from the feet, while there is an upward movement and a downward, the fire, say for example you're lighting a fire, there is a smoke and the heat moving up, yeah, so to speak. Trees, they have movement through their trunks, through like the branches, head, different extremities, yes, peripherals. So in that sense, you could say that it's because our fires are moving upwards, you know, from denser to lighter. That you could say one thing, and which means it is important to maintain the dense as well as the light. Otherwise, we would all become kind of airy, you know, airy-headed, spaced out. Not so good. So to maintain our ability to be on the ground, holding our stable presence, it's important to maintain the fire, such that the hearth of our life is like we have a kitchen and we have a stove, and it's because there's a fire we are able to cook something, and then we are able to maintain a family around a dining table. So so the hearth, so our body also has fire element similarly. Now why eyes is because when we are standing upright, our eyes are most affected by well, let's say the eyes are the uppermost holes out of the 9 or 10 holes in a human body. Males have a certain number of holes, females have a certain number of holes, external openings to the external of the body, yeah, holes, H-O-L-E-S. For example, eyes, so there are holes from where tears come out and all of that stuff. Holes, 2 eyes, 2 ears, count. This is one more hole, yeah. From the ears also have a hole, mouth also has one hole, 10 holes. So this is like the uppermost hole, and then there are crevices in our skull. But then what is exactly through the skin, where are the holes, is like 10. Now, so when the fire is, when there's the house, yeah, and through where does the exhaust go out? So uppermost is through the eyes. So maintaining the eyes is maintaining the uppermost hole, yeah, so to speak. So our vision is clear and we can see clearly. Yeah, okay, maintaining the fire. Now bring my, so what's coming to my attention is there is a certain heat about my eyes. I'm noticing there is a heat more on the left than the right. Okay, that's from my eyeballs. More like, ooh, fiery eyes. Okay. When you're able to, so there are 2 previous videos about eyes to be able to get the sensitivity about the being aware of the tissues of the eye without having to look into the mirror or touch your skin. Now it needs to be remembered that I'm speaking a yoga which is largely silent, which is more experiential. You're only being aware. You don't have to say it like how I'm saying it. Bring attention to the eye and then notice the warmth. You don't have to do it. When I'm doing it, I don't have to speak anything. All I have to do is notice my eye. So that's the way. So it needs to be remembered that I'm voicing out an experience, which as a practitioner you don't have to do. Yeah, so I'm doing something extra than the practice itself involves. So go through those previous videos that will help to become sensitive to the tissues of the skin of the eye. And then one of the things so now I'm going from a little further from there in being able to maintain the fire, or it's also a little demonstration of Nirbeeja. Okay, I'm going back and forth in words. So in the practice of Nirbeeja Yoga, this is also something that happens because our body is made up of rhythms, and hence when there is an out, there is also an in. When there's a left, there's also a right. Yeah, when there is an in, there is also an out. When there's a front, there's also a back. So movements is part of the practice of Nirbeeja Yoga, which is why it is dynamic. The practice of yoga, this method of yoga itself is dynamic. So which is why getting used to the dynamics, the changes, the variations, the levels of awareness is important for getting a grasp of at least the basics, and that's quite a syllabus in itself. So which is why it takes time to which is why it is movement through stages. The advancement is in levels and stages of awareness. Okay. So noticing the warmth about my eyeballs. So once you're able to appreciate the softness, appreciate the tissues of your eye, the presence of the tissues of your eyes, you will, some of the things that you would notice is temperature, texture, density, ease, at least, yeah, some of these things. So so in maintaining the eye, I'm noticing the warmth about my eyes versus coolness. Left eyeball is more warm than the right. Now I'm also noticing that the skin of the eyeball, so to speak, the surface is more cooler, the inside is more warmer. The surface of the eyeball is cooler and the inside is warmer. Like the conjunctiva is sclera is more cooler and the inside is more warmer. Probably where there is more vascular blood movement, but the warmth of the blood on the left is more than the right. So these are different awarenesses that comes to your attention. You become aware of these different things that to be aware of as you move through. Contact me, I'll be able to help, I'll be able to guide on how to become aware of it, such that Nirbeeja Yoga is happening, such that detraumatization, decontamination, and mindfully coming to better health is happening. Yeah, it's like if you're just going to do different kinds of asanas by yourself without, just because somebody is doing it, you just do it, you might get knotted somewhere, not so nice. Yeah, so, or could get into uncomfortable spaces. Yeah, so okay, but if you can appreciate warmth about your eyes, great, which is already a good improvement, yeah, development. Now, what else? Okay, I'm speaking so much, which means there is so much of fire already in movement, because there is so much of a drivenness, of force to speak. So there's already that build-up of it. Fire, how am I saying that? Is the speed at which I'm speaking, the dinniness or tinny sound to my voice, There's also a force with which I'm speaking. I may even be speaking louder than I need to because of, well, I'm aware of several levels, and hence I'm also affected by different things, and hence right now I'm a little more fury, fire oriented. So I don't know who else is, how we may or may not be aware of how our substance is affected by health in and around the environment. Yeah. Okay. Now. Okay. So what am I doing now is I'm paying attention to the left versus the right side of my head, and I'm paying more attention to my eyelids. And interestingly, my left is more prominently noticed than the right. And this could vary from place to place, time to time, depending on what's happening. Could be that. Okay. Which is why I said the practice in Nirbeeja Yoga is pretty dynamic, which is why you need to keep maintaining. It's like you're brushing your teeth every day in the morning, even though you have been brushing your teeth like many times. Only this is like you're brushing your teeth anytime and every time during the day. Yeah. Only it's not just your teeth. It's like you're bathing like 24/7. Yeah. Whensoever you feel a little dirty or a little not to yourself, you're doing Nirbeeja Yoga. It's more like you're bathing a little bit. Only without water or moving a muscle or breaking into a sweat. So that gives a certain idea. Okay, we have a whistle and all of it going on. Okay. Now, okay. So I'm now there's a front versus back movement that's happening. So there is more attention to the back of my head versus the front, and so it's more cooler for my eyes. The blood is also less tense. Actually, it's a little compressed from the top. Okay, so my skull is all like my jaws are like, ugh. Yeah, like I want to bite. Okay, so these are some of the dynamics that you would appreciate when you're practicing it. There are changes, and then what you do to maintain composition just so that you're not getting distorted. Unlike in Hatha Yoga, where you're doing contortionisms, and that is accepted how asanas are done. In Nirbeeja Yoga, when you're noticing contortions is when you know that something is out of order. Yeah. Okay. So it's counterintuitive. So when you notice things are out of order, you do Nirbeeja Yoga to come back into simplicity. Yeah. You're not going out and doing something, all of that stuff. You're actually together, to maintain composture. So when there are sticky outy bits, an emotion is out of place, or a thought line is there, or you have something outstanding, you kind of know how to tuck it in place. You tuck it in place. Yep. Mindfulness. Okay. That was talk. So I have so many ideas, flash images, which is so common, which is so easy to get lost in it. So what am I doing is I'm paying attention to my eyelid. I'm paying attention to the tissue of my eyelid. I'm paying attention to the one easy word to say is the rhythm of my eyelid. Yeah, but then when I'm just telling it out on the video, you may not understand what I'm talking about. Um, like a heartbeat, okay. Talking about it is not going to have you experience it, because it is something that you need to come to an awareness of. And it's not just, okay, now I notice a rhythm and hence this is it. It is not. Because it may be a violent rhythm, you need to notice the non-violent rhythm. That is when Nirbeeja Yoga happens. So there are violent rhythms and there are non-violent rhythms. Violent rhythms are where there is still hurt. So you need to know how to maneuver through those hurt until you come to the non-violent rhythm, because that's where the de-traumatization, decontamination, detoxification, all that happens. And you can't do that anyhow. This is not Hatha Yoga, this is not allopathy, this is not a doing. It is a awareness based. I don't think any of this is going to make any sense, because you need to experience it to know what I'm talking about. This is a mindfulness into coming into living non-violently, experiencing non-violence. Okay. So paying attention to, so there's this force. So I'm noticing, it's a garbage truck. Okay, so now I'm noticing tension about the bridge of my nose, tension about my smiley bones, tension about the zygomatic bones, the zygomatic arch, peace bones, yeah, smiley bones. When you smile, you get like that, bones by that. I like to call them smiley bones, it's so easy to remember. That to smile, maintain your smile. If it's all painful, then you're having a painful smile. Ew, it's painful to look at too. Well, unless you're actually smiling the genuine smile, in which case, unless you've de-traumatized this bone from different kinds of things, your pain, you're smiling, you can't smile for too long, because this will start hurting. Why it's hurting is because you have to do Nirbeeja Yoga for that bone. And it comes to ease and grace and samasthiti. Yeah. Big difference. Yeah. So you may not even be aware of how much of pain you're actually going through, and it's like, this is how life is. This is how our body is. No. It's a Nirbeeja Yoga deficiency. Okay. I'm all fiery. Can you notice how I'm more driven, kind of talky? So right now this is only maintenance about my eye. So after this, as I'm going about my daily activities, I'm already noticing there's so much of talky. So I'm going to maintain the Nirbeeja Yoga about my jaw. Then I would speak some more same, because I have to speak in a podcast. If I'm going to be speaking all driven, and then it's going to be very interesting. Well, so benefit of Nirbeeja Yoga. This is something you have to do like all the time, yeah, because this helps you maintain sane, safe for kids and puppies and all of those little people and plants and all of that. They will get scared if you're not very, if you haven't maintained yourself well enough, yeah. Now, that's how you become caring, nurturing people. Yeah? Okay. That's a little more about this. We just pause in here. There's already too much of information. There is still morasses. Morasses is a flash images. I'm just thinking I'm just going to do a demo. I don't know if it might be too much information already. Yeah. Okay, because what I do notice, I'm just going to briefly just tell what I have been noticing, not instead of doing it, because it might take some time. To driven in speed. Okay, so from paying attention to the tissues of my eyelid, I notice the tension about my head, kind of about the region of my head here reduces once those rhythms um, are de-traumatized from the pressure that is there. I'm also more working on the intellect, such that our ability to maintain level-headedness is better. So, that's also one of the reasons why I'm paying more attention to the eyes and maintaining the eyes. Um, um, so once the tent and the fox, yeah. So inside a brain there are, like the heart has chambers, the brain also has chambers, so to speak. It's called the tentorium and the fox, so to speak. They sort of give a separation between left hemisphere, right hemisphere, yeah, parietals, temporal lobes of the brain, occipital, so like that. Yeah? So there are chambers in the brain. So once these chambers are less traumatized and they are more less pressured, that sort of instead of the tension being like this, it's more relaxed and aram. So you're moving, and the chambers of the brain are, once the septations, the segments are more easily moving, are easily not tensed and all of that, the brain is less tensed, which means our thinking is not aggressive, driven. You're more level-headed, yeah, and not waiting to react, yeah, which is important for maintaining prudence. And once prudence is more in place, safety is in place, common sense is more, common sense as in seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing, tasting, knowing, sense of self, all of those different, sense of creativity, originality, maintenance of me as an individual and not just a self, yeah. So all of that common sense, these senses are all more balanced and looking at each other and appreciative of each other's inputs, and what is happening inside the brain is also happening with outside people. We are also appreciative of what's happening with people, and then how is the interactions and what is developing and what is not present. And so we kind of look at, okay, this is not present, so how can we bring it into presence so that we are having the benefit of, we can create things better. Common sense. So this gives some more understanding to the benefit of doing Nirbeeja Yoga, and a little more into the practice, the different facets, variations that's involved. I know I'm doing a lot of hands. Videos, you're not supposed to do too much of hand, apparently, but I'm work in progress, yes. Different stages of development to well. This is my natural style. It's more, helps me being expressive. Too much, I don't know. Work in progress, yeah. Things get better. But if this helps, if this video helps you bring an understanding about the practice of Nirbeeja Yoga, benefit of it, gives you certain dimensions from which to think about yoga, the way you may not have thought. Okay, great. So do let me know. If this is too complex, it's actually not so complex. It is stages in development. It happens from stages in awareness, and becoming aware is where we begin into the practice. Becoming aware is also the beginning into coming home to ourselves, coming home to the language of our body, of our own personal expression. And becoming aware is also the beginning into coming home to harmony, non-violence, appreciation, experience of beauty, appreciation of new. You'll only see new when you're aware of what there is and what there is not. Yeah. So it's once you begin that you begin to notice the beauty. Actually, I mean, like in so many ways, there are so many levels of reality, the beauty in reality that we're not able to see because we have not been able to be aware enough. In many ways that we don't even know that we're not aware. For example, can you be aware of your nose without touching it, without feeling it, without looking to the mirror? In which case you are aware of one thing you wasn't aware of before. Can you feel the muscle around your kneecap? Then you will know certain tension in your ability to. I often keep saying, when you're able to know your position of a bone in relationship with a position of a bone, for example, in relationship to time and space, then you know how you are placed in the scheme of things. So awareness is key. Yeah. So when you can notice how is your muscle around your knee cap, for example, you will know how supported you are, for example, or how not, and then what may be missing, the presence of which will make a difference. Awareness brings a lot of wellness towards health, wealth, and wisdom. So thank you for listening. I hope this has been of value to you.